Good morning. And good morning on this Football Sunday, where we are witnessing an extraordinary mixture of sports and politics.
Yeah, and it's not just football. Trump now at war with some of America's most popular athletes, including NBA stars LeBron James and Steph Curry.
Yeah, to put this all in context, it all started Friday night when the president used profanity to bash NFL players like Colin Kaepernick, who kneeled during the national anthem to protest social injustice against African Americans. But instead of backing down, the president is just doubling down. Just this morning on Twitter, he tweeted, quote, "If NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see change take place fast. Fire or suspend." However, today we are expecting many more players to join Kaepernick. This is a shot of the first game of the day, Ravens-Jaguars over in London at Wembley Stadium. And now the protest is spreading to baseball overnight. This is Bruce Maxwell from the Oakland A's taking a knee. And of course, all of this is playing out against a backdrop of a new ABC News Washington Post poll showing 66% of Americans say that Donald Trump has done more to divide this country. Yet that poll also showing Trump's approval ratings have gone up slightly. We have team coverage this morning, and we begin with ABC's Mary Bruce, who's at the White House. Mary, good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, the president this morning is picking a fight with two of the world's largest sports leagues and some of their most influential stars, and he is not backing down. Over the last 24 hours, he has added fuel to the fierce debate in this country over race, intolerance, politics, and sports. This morning, it's the president versus the players as Trump sparks a political war with professional sports. It started with this jab and profanity about football players like Colin Kaepernick, who kneeled during the national anthem to protest racial and social injustice.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, "Get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!"
But the president didn't stop there, tweeting if a player wants the privilege of making millions of dollars in the NFL or other leagues, he or she should not be allowed to disrespect our great American flag or country and should stand for the national anthem. If not, you're fired. Find something else to do. The NFL fired back, saying divisive comments like these demonstrate an unfortunate lack of respect for the NFL, our great game, and all of our players. It's an unusually strong rebuke from a league whose owners collectively donated more than $7 million to Trump's campaign. And it's not just football. Trump is taking on basketball, too, after NBA champion Steph Curry said he would vote against a Golden State Warriors visit to the White House.
I don't want to go. That's really it.
Trump then beat him to it, disinviting him, tweeting, "Going to the White House is considered a great honor for a championship team. Steph Curry is hesitating, therefore invitation is withdrawn." LeBron James's response, "You bum, Curry already said he isn't going. Going to the White House was a great honor until you showed up." For the president who promised to bring the country together.
I think I'll bring people together, and that includes blacks and whites and everything.
Now he's again inserting himself into the debate over race in America. Now, all eyes will, of course, be on today's games. The president has encouraged fans to leave the stadium if players decide to kneel during the national anthem, while others are encouraging those players to take a knee now more than ever. Dan and Paula.
Mary Bruce at the White House kicking us off. Thank you. The intense response to the president's comments coming not just from players, but also from fans. ESPN's Ryan Smith covering that part of the story from outside MetLife Stadium, where the New York Jets will play a little bit later today. Ryan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Paul. You know, at stadiums like these, Sundays are for football. But after President Trump's comments and criticisms, today is about so much more. Stars across the sports world are speaking out about what one called the president's divisive rhetoric.
This morning, the president's fiery words setting off a national firestorm.
He's now using sports as the platform to try to divide us. For him to try to use this platform to divide us even more, it's not something I can stand for, and it's not something I can be quiet about.
Overnight, Oakland A's catcher Bruce Maxwell became the first MLB player to kneel during the anthem.
I really can't remember the momentum building on something like this.
NBA star Kobe Bryant tweeting, "A POTUS whose name alone creates division and anger, whose words inspire dissension and hatred, can't possibly make America great again." And even celebrities outside the sports world chiming in. Barbra Streisand posting, "The You're Fired president thinks he's still in a reality show. he's the one who should be fired. A wide range of opinions shared by NFL fans across the country.
For our president to say anything but everyone should stand for the flag would be ridiculous.
Stand up for your flag. It's your country. Be proud of it.
We have a First Amendment in this country, and I think that allows people to express how they feel in the way that they feel they need to express it.
I agree with the president. We should be more respectful of the flag.
Meanwhile, former NFL star Reggie Bush tweeted he'd rather take a knee for Colin Kaepernick before standing with Donald Trump.
I would say that odds are that today you will see the most unified group of players kneeling for the national anthem that you have ever seen.
All right, Ryan, we have former NBA player and ESPN host Jay Williams standing by to join in the conversation. Jay, we're going to ask you to jump in a minute. But Ryan, you just heard from Darren Ravel. He expects a unified presence from NFL players. But what type of reaction might we expect at stadiums around the country today?
Well, I think Paula, Darren hit it right on the head. The idea is today we could see more protests of the flag than we've seen ever before at this point. I don't think anything specific has been planned yet, but I think what will be interesting is how the players respond. We've seen it online, we've seen it from stars and sports stars all across the sports landscape of folks wanting to make their opinion heard, and we could see that in a variety of different ways today on those football fields.
Jalen, we'll bring you in. This has been a somewhat lonely quest for Colin Kaepernick. One poll shows that nearly half of Americans oppose what he's been doing. He's been unable to get a job as a consequence, many people feel. But are we at a point now where, because of Donald Trump, actually we could see a lot more people streaming to Colin Kaepernick?
Yes, I do. I think, first off, he's galvanized the whole sports community. And I think it's really funny, as an ex-athlete, you get this whole statement, stick to sports. Now people say to Donald Trump, oh, stick to politics, but he's opened that door for other sports athletes, i.e. LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Chris Paul, the basketball community to come into this play as well. So I think today is going to be a very special day where you're going to hear a lot of voices really come to support Colin Kaepernick.
And just kind of on that note, too, you just said stick to sports. You hear that all the time, but people really don't like it when sports are politicized. But at the end of the day, do you think this will benefit the world of sports?
It's interesting to watch the culture continue to grow, because what I'm finding is it becomes more divisive. If you say anything politically online, people automatically attack you. And I think when you think about the flag, you think about the American ideals. And one of those ideals is the First Amendment, is freedom of speech. You should be able to protest as long as it's peacefully done. I think people need to learn how to support and just respect each other. But our president continues to pour fuel on the fire of all this chaos. He loves to control the chaos.
Well, let's go back to Ryan for a second. Ryan, it's hard to ignore the racial component here. The president went on this jag on Friday night in front of a largely white audience. What's your view on the racial component here?
Well, I think there's a lot of talk now about coded language. You think about what he said, disrespecting our heritage, to that largely white crowd. I think there's a lot of folks out there that look at this and say, what are you really trying to say here? You know, when you talk about if somebody doesn't do what I think, they should be fired, if they're speaking a point of view, even peacefully protesting, as Jay mentioned, they should be fired. You know, these players, they're not chattel. They are people, and they are people who have a point of view just like your ordinary citizen out there. So I think a lot of people today are responding to the idea of this coded language that just because you're making a lot of money, you don't have a right to say what you want to say, whereas at the same time, not too long ago, he was respecting the opinions of others in Charlottesville that many people felt were using very divisive terms, holding different items that were very scary for many people.
Yeah, and yes, they have ownership, but they're not products. And on that note, you know, most of these owners, Jay, are conservative. I believe 8 of them donated to President Trump's inaugural campaign. But what kind of predicament does this put them in to choose between basically their political allegiance and their players?
I think they're going to choose their players, and Roger Goodell has already came out statements as saying, hey, this divisive talk is not the talk that the NFL needs. And you have no other direction to go other than to support your players. You're not doing anything malicious. Now, whether you bring Colin Kaepernick back to a team, that's different. He brings a lot of media attention, even though his quarterback rating is better than all the backups and half the starters. He belongs on the field. It's a matter of somebody having the moxie to step up and do the right thing, which is to bring a great quarterback back to the NFL.
Jay Williams and Ryan Smith, we thank you both for your astute analysis on a Sunday morning. We really appreciate it. We're going to turn now, though, to the other war of words in which President Trump is engaged this morning, this one with nuclear stakes.
Trump and North